turnovers, and when you do that against a bad team like the Pelicans and give them life, things like this happen as they lose, and we welcome everybody to Toyota Warriors post-game live with the Hall of Famer Chris Mullin, NBA champion Festus Ezeli. I am Bonte Hill. Got off to a rocky start in the first quarter, 19 points after we saw him score 39 in the first quarter against Denver on Sunday. He only scored 39 in that first half, and then they failed to take care of the basketball. Somebody hit a shot, please.
Living and dying by the three, Bonte, that's hard to do. I mean, the last game against the Denver Nuggets, the Warriors scored 76 points. This half, first half, 39 points. And it starts off the game with 19 points. It's turnovers, lack of ball movement, only 10 assists in the first half. The Warriors never really got in the flow. And the Pelicans team that has really been struggling, they caught their rhythm in the second half after getting some confidence. Obviously, they have DeJounte Murray. He comes back as his first game back, makes some huge plays down the stretch for the New Orleans Pelicans, gives them some life. Zion Williamson was hard to stop all night long. The Warriors only really had Guy Santos and DeAnthony Melton making shots. Everybody else struggled from the field. Draymond a little bit, but the Warriors just really lacking that offensive firepower tonight, and it just ended up in a loss against New Orleans.
Yeah, this game was lost in the first quarter. I mean, the Warriors won the last three quarters. Not that that means anything after you get down, but 31-19 in the first. The second quarter was ugly. It was 20-15. And then 33-31, 37-36 in that fourth quarter. But like you said about a team that's struggling like New Orleans, you don't want to give them easy points. So the two things that stuck out to me was fast break, 20-4. That's a -16. That's easy baskets that they're usually not going to get. You get them in the half court. They struggle to shoot the three. Their field goal percentage is down. If you can defensive rebound, those are possessions you get out and score easy. Then the bench, which the Warriors are the number 2 bench in the league, it's 45-26. It's a huge number. So you've got to give credit to New Orleans Pelicans. If they're going to win games, it's going to be at home. They kept it close. But that first quarter, and you've been saying that, Bonte, the starts, I think moving forward, they're going to have to figure out what the best starting lineup is to get off to a good start. Then you can support that.
Yep.
You can have a great bench, but you don't want your bench bailing your starters out. You want your bench coming in and elevating that lead when the starters rest. So Steve Kerr's got some work to do again to reorganize the starting lineup and get that bench. I think the bench is fine, whoever he has coming off the bench. But this is a first quarter league. It says a lot in the NBA.
Yep.
You dictate how the game's going to be played, style of play. You get feeling good about yourself, or the flip side. You let the opponent dictate those things. And when you're on the road, it's really important.
Now, you've mentioned that for years, that it's a first quarter league. And when you're playing uphill instead of downhill, things like tonight happen where you lose to a team that you're not supposed to lose to, as the Pelicans are headed for the lottery. But the fourth quarter tape, look, this was a nip-it tuck.
Shut your scroll for a second, Dub Nation, because I'm about to ask you a question that's going to sting. How do you go from looking like a team that can punch a contender in the mouth to losing 113-109 to a Pelican squad sitting at 17-42, and doing it in a way that feels like you handed them confidence on a silver platter? Because there is no way to sugarcoat this one, and the postgame show didn't try to either. This was a bad loss, a frustrating loss, the kind of loss that makes Warriors fans stare at the standings and feel that tightness in the chest when you realize you had a chance to make up ground and you didn't. Golden State falls to 30-28, still only 2 games over 500, and instead of closing the gap, you're now 3 games behind Phoenix for the 7th seed, which matters because that 7th spot is the difference between having some breathing room and living in the play-in chaos, where one weird night can erase months of work. And what makes it even more brutal is that this game was begging the Warriors to take it, begging them to play with urgency, begging them to play clean basketball, begging them to show the league that the Denver win wasn't just a one-night heater, but instead, the Warriors came out like they thought it would just happen because the Pelicans are bad. That is the oldest trap in the NBA, and the Warriors walked right into it. The first quarter alone was basically the whole story. New Orleans jumps out 31-19, Golden State looks rattled, the offense is choppy, and now you're chasing the game on the road against a team that had nothing to lose and everything to gain emotionally. And here's the thing that drives me crazy as a fan watching this style of game. The Warriors actually won the final 3 quarters on the scoreboard. But when you spot a team an early lead like that, you're not playing to win anymore. You're playing to survive, and the margin for error disappears. That's why the post-game panel nailed it when they framed it as a first-quarter league mentality. You dictate energy, pace, and confidence early, or you let the opponent feel comfortable, and then suddenly every possession in the fourth feels like you're trying to pull a car out of mud with your bare hands. The numbers back up the frustration. Golden State shot terribly from 3, going 11 for 45, and coughed it up 21 times. And if you're going to do both of those things in the same night, you're basically begging to lose, even against a team with a record like the Pelicans. Because think about what the Warriors' formula has been when they look like the Warriors. The ball moves, the game has rhythm, the defense is set. You're not giving away live ball turnovers that become fast break points, and the threes you take are the kind that come from advantage, not desperation. In this game, the rhythm was constantly being ripped away by mistakes, and that's why even when they made a push, it never felt smooth enough to trust. And let's talk about what New Orleans did, because as much as we want to scream about what the Warriors didn't do, the Pelicans did exactly what a hungry home team is supposed to do. They set the tone early, they attacked the rim, and they leaned into Zion Williamson being a problem that you can't solve with hopes and prayers. Zion had 26 points on 11 of 21 shooting, and it wasn't just the total, it was the feeling of inevitability when he decided he was going to the cup. The pivotal moment that basically summarized the night was that overturned call late. What was initially ruled a charge gets challenged, gets flipped, and suddenly Zion is at the line completing a 3-point play that felt like a momentum sledgehammer. And then you add the emotional boost of DeJounte Murray returning after nearly 13 months away, and you're giving a struggling team a storyline, a reason to believe, a reason to play with edge. That's the part fans underestimate. When you play a team that's been miserable all season, you cannot give them oxygen early, because once they believe they can win, you're not just playing their talent anymore, you're playing their adrenaline. Now, on the Warriors side, I want to give credit where it's due, because this wasn't a no-show from everyone. DeAnthony Melton was aggressive and carried the scoring load with 28. Moses Moody gave you 24 and tried to drag the offense into the fight. And Brandon Podziemski did the dirty work plus thing with 16 points and 15 rebounds, which is absurd for a guard and speaks to his motor. But here's the cold truth. This was one of those nights where you could feel exactly what the post-game guys were saying about offensive firepower and flow. The Warriors were short-handed again, and the absences aren't just names, they're structure.
Stephen Curry is the gravity that makes everyone's life easier. Jimmy Butler's presence changes how you can manufacture points late. Al Horford's spacing matters because it changes the geometry of the floor. And Kristaps Porzingis is another mismatch lever that can stabilize ugly stretches. All of them were out. And when you stack that on top of an already uneven shooting night, you're basically asking role players to play above their comfort zone for 48 minutes. And yes, fans will say, but we just beat Denver without Steph. And that's exactly why this loss hits harder. The Denver game created belief that the Warriors could survive the Curry absence by leaning into movement and collective execution. And then this game was the opposite vibe, the kind where the ball sticks, possessions get rushed, and turnovers become contagious. The post-game show called out the lack of early assists and the lack of flow, and you could see it. When Golden State is right, even missed shots feel like good possessions. In this game, too many possessions felt like the offense was just trying to get to the end of the shot clock without messing up. That's not Warriors basketball, that's anxiety basketball. And speaking of Steph, let's bring in the real-world update that matters to every fan watching this season like it's a daily heartbeat monitor. ESPN's Shams Charania reported Steph Curry is dealing with a persistent right knee issue and will be reevaluated in about 10 days. And that timeline matters because it's not just about one game, it's about the stretch you have to survive to keep playoff position in range. The Warriors are now 7-12 without Curry, and that number tells you why every winnable game against a lottery team is basically a must-grab. Because you can't rely on perfect health later. You can't rely on the schedule bailing you out, and you definitely can't rely on the play-in being kind. This is where the emotional whiplash happens for Warriors fans. One night you're dreaming about what the ceiling looks like if you get healthy at the right time, and the next night you're staring at a loss that screams inconsistency, the same word that keeps popping up every time this season tries to turn a corner. And that's why this Pelicans loss is so important as a talking point. It's not just a single L, it's a reminder of the margin in the West and how quickly you can waste momentum. Even the matchup context matters. The Warriors were supposed to use this game to make up ground on Phoenix, and instead they missed that opportunity and now have to try to reset immediately because they've got Memphis next, another game that won't care about your excuses. Now let me flip this into something productive, because Warriors Nation News is not here to just yell into the void. We're here to read the moment and find the path forward. Here are the 3 core reasons this loss happened, and why I actually think it can still become useful fuel. First, the start. You cannot spot teams 12 points in the first quarter on the road and expect your offense to magically find rhythm later, especially when you're missing your offensive engine. Second, the turnovers. 21 turnovers is not just careless, it's identity breaking, because it kills shot quality, it kills transition defense, it kills confidence, and it turns the game into randomness. Third, the 3-point dependency without the usual creation. When you're 11 for 45 from deep, you need rim pressure and free throws to stabilize, and Zion and the Pelicans were the ones consistently creating paint damage. But here's the favorable Warriors conclusion, and I want you to really hear me on this. The fact that the Warriors still had a chance in the fourth after playing that ugly, after starting that badly, after shooting like that, after turning it over like that, tells you the floor of this team is higher than it feels in the moment. They fought back. They didn't quit. Moody kept attacking. Podziemski kept competing on the glass. Melton tried to carry. And when Curry is back, that fight gets structure. It gets spacing. It gets calm. This is still a team in the race, still within striking distance, still capable of stacking wins if they clean up the self-inflicted wounds. And the schedule doesn't care about your feelings, but it does reward teams that learn fast. The Denver win proved the Warriors can execute a high-level game plan even short-handed. The Pelicans' loss proves they cannot afford to play sloppy and assume talent will save them. Both lessons matter, and if you're trying to peak at the right time, sometimes the most valuable losses are the ones that embarrass you into fixing what you've been dodging. That's where I land. This game was ugly, but it's also a clear blueprint of what must change immediately, starting with first-quarter urgency and protecting the ball like your season depends on it, because with the standings this tight, it actually does. Now, I want to hear from you, Dub Nation, because this is one of those moments where the comments section becomes the real show. What is the biggest problem right now when Steph is out? Is it the starting lineup? Is it shot creation? Or is it just focus and carelessness? And do you believe this loss is a warning sign or a wake-up call that helps them bounce back stronger? Drop your take, hit the like button if you're still riding with this team through the messy nights, and subscribe to Warriors Nation News, because the moment Curry's timeline updates and the moment this team responds against Memphis, we're breaking it down immediately.